Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of Economy This Week, wherein we cover the important economy-related articles in different newspapers such as Economic Times, Business Line, Business Standard, etc. And in this session, I'll be covering the articles which have appeared between the dates 19th to 25th June 2025. Before I start the discussion, certain very important announcements. I keep on looking at the comment section, and many of the students keep on asking me, "Sir, where do I get the PPT of the session? Where do I get the notes of this particular session?" Listen to me very carefully now. The PPT that I'm using, as well as the notes of the articles that I'm going to discuss, both of them will be uploaded today evening, that is after the session is aired on the YouTube in my Telegram channel. This is the QR code of my Telegram channel. Just scan it, join, and you will be able to download. Point number two, those are appearing for the Civil Services Examination 26 or 27. You need to follow certain things to crack the examination, such as comprehensive coverage of the static portion, updation with the current affairs, very good reading material, the prelims as well as the mains test series. All of this is available once you purchase our courses, which is available at a price of 19,999 right now. I've been told that today will be the last day of the offer, and if you use the code IAS English, you'll also get a free extension of up to 12 months free of cost. Those who are interested, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. Let me start the discussion. As usual, listen to me very carefully. After the end of the article, I'll be giving you question for you to practice mains answer writing. I'll be giving you questions for MCQs, practice as well. Those want to solve it during the session, pause the session, solve it, and anyways, I'm going to give you the key answer. And at the end of the session, I will also give you assignments. This week, two assignments, two editorials related to that, two questions. Be ready for reading the articles and practicing the answer writing. Let me start with the first article here. The Statistics Ministry, the Minister of Statistics and Program Implementation, for the first time ever, will be conducting household income survey in 2026. What are the important points? Listen to me carefully. Whenever the government wants to make policies, the government should have very good quality data which represents the most recent events or the most recent happenings in the economy. Reason being, if you take example of, let's say, implementation of reforms to promote employment, more the recent data available, more will be the efficient policy made by the government. Regarding, let's say, poverty, if the government of India knows what is the situation, incidence of poverty, how many people are earning how much is their expenditure, the policy making as well as the implementation of the policy will be very efficient. And that's the reason the government of India so far has been conducting multiple surveys. We have surveys which estimate how much is the debt of the households. We have surveys which give us estimates regarding how much is the savings done by the households. We have surveys which give us how much is the income from certain sources, etc. Now, before I go forward, I said there are surveys which provide us details regarding income sources. Listen to me very carefully here. This data set that I'm referring to here is the most recent change that has been done by the government of India in a survey called as PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey. Very limited amount of data is being collected from limited number of coverage of the sample units, that is the respondents. So that's a reason, do not confuse this with something else I'm going to discuss in detail now. So the argument of government of India is we should have very good data sets. The most recent data sets should be made available for policy making. In that particular regard, I said multiple surveys are being conducted. But one area of lacunae, that is one vacuum that is present in terms of data set in India, is we do not have one data set which will provide us with what is the incomes generated by the households. We do not have that kind of a survey. And it's not that the government of India earlier has not tried to conduct this survey. 1950s, 1960s, multiple surveys were conducted, but the government of India was not happy with the outcome. Reason being, listen to me carefully. Whenever you earn incomes, that is, whatever money you are going to earn, you'll be using it either to save or to spend, correct? You will either incur this as a form of a expenditure or you will save money. Now, Government of India earlier, like I said, conducted the survey to calculate what is the income. There are surveys which provide us what is the savings. There are surveys which provide or data sets which provide how much is the expenditure incurred. For example, there is one survey, All India Debt and Investment Survey. There is a GDP estimates which are calculated using expenditure method. There is PLFS data, etc. But the problem Government of India found was the data which showed us through a survey, the data which showed us what is the income, this was always lower compared to the data regarding the savings as well as the expenditure incurred. In simple terms, once you conducted the surveys and you accumulated all of these data sets, the savings plus expenditure that was incurred always was higher compared to the total incomes generated. That was the data set through the survey that was conducted. So Government of India realized that there are various issues in terms of conducting these kind of surveys. What are the issues here? The issue was one, when you approach households, when you go to a household as an enumerator or a data collector, ask for what is the income source. The households may not report the right amount of income. And that is very common. If I come to your house and ask you what is the total income you are generating, a lot of you will be skeptical. Lot of you will not allow me to enter the house in the first place. Lot of you will basically say, I am unemployed, I'm not earning anything, and you will simply give a wrong or a false data, incorrect data regarding your income. That was one issue. Second issue was the government of India did not consider this situation that one person would be having multiple employment opportunities. The same person could be working in different job roles, although in unorganized sector might be working in different, right, let's say the job roles as such. So multiple job opportunities or multiple roles held was not considered by the government earlier. And if you do not consider it, obviously you will not be able to collect the right income, right data regarding the income generated. The third issue was, what should be the sample size? What should be the sample size? That is, I hope you understand, whenever these kind of surveys are conducted, a lot of time government will not collect the data from every household. They will take a representative number of the household, collect the data, expand it to represent all the households in India. Unlike, let's say, a census, where the data will be collected from every household like this. So there was a problem associated with the sampling as well here. The fourth issue that the government faced in this kind of a income surveys was the seasonality effect. The seasonality effect. What do you mean by seasonality effect here? If you go to rural parts of India, the households will not be earning the same amount of income throughout the year. Will not be earning it. In some of the seasons, the earnings or let's say the wages will be much higher. In certain seasons, there will be no wages generated or negligible wages generated. So the seasonality effect also had an impact on the incomes generated by the household. That was one of the factors that was not considered. And the fifth and a very important factor that led to the government of India discontinuing even the trials of collecting the incomes data was the issue of the the issue of exchange of services with other goods or services. That is, in simple terms, non monetization. In rural parts of India, even today it can be seen in certain regions, if I provide certain amount of services, in return, I'll be paid in quantity of food grains. In such cases where there is no monetization means value is not attributed in terms of rupees always. In such cases, how will you find out what is the income generated? If the payment is done in the form of a kind, not in the form of a cash, how will you determine what is the income generated by the household? So the kind payment instead of cash payment was also one of the issues of concern. So these are some of the reasons why Government of India earlier, although conducted trials, did not implement the concept of household income survey. Now Government of India says, I'll be setting up a expert task panel. I'll be setting up a panel here. And this particular panel will be headed by Mr. Surjit Bhalla. This panel or expert committee will be headed by Mr. Surjit Bhalla. And this committee will be studying what are the best practices around the world. How can we determine, how can we collect income data from the households? And what is the impact of adoption of technology in terms of wages earned by the households in India? So they'll be having a detailed study regarding this, and this panel will submit a report to the government, that is specifically the ministry's MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, under which NSO is present, National Statistics Office. It will be this office which will be conducting the household income survey. And finally, what would be the use of this particular survey? The government of India now will have latest data regarding, or the most recent data regarding, what is the average incomes generated by households in India. Based on that, the government can estimate or basically assess what is the impact of the structural reforms that it has implemented in the last 70 plus years in eradication of poverty. Because if you see, since the first 5 year plan itself, one of the central theme was to basically eradicate poverty. Multiple reforms, multiple measures, policies, schemes have been implemented by the government to eradicate poverty. So, what has been the impact of it in terms of increasing incomes, and how this is going to help us in making further changes in the policies, new type policies, in order to, right, reduce the number of poor people in the Indian market or Indian economy. So, these are certain very important points associated with the first article here. Very important article. Please make a note of this. Now, based on the discussion that I've had so far, I've given a question for descriptive answer writing practice. Look at the question. For an evidence based and efficient policy making, there is a need for quality, timely, updated official statistics in India. How can better data enhance evidence based policy making? Discuss in 250 words a 15 marker question. These are the kind of questions which are asked generally in the mains examination. And trust me when I say this, do not search for an answer for this question in the books. Books do not provide you the answer to this kind of question, nor do they discuss these kind of themes at all. Let me just elaborate, give you an idea regarding what kind of answer you are expected to write. In recent times, I said the government of India has been making lot of changes in terms of data collection. For example, there is one more article, I'll go to that, don't worry. Very recently, the minister for the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation in an interview stated that we are going to change the base year. For what indicators? For GDP, for Index of Industrial Production, for CPI, etc. And not just that, for the CPI, the basket will also be changed. That is a consumer price index, the basket will also be changed. And not just that, very recently, the government of India, for the first time ever, has started conducting a private capex survey. And that is important because you will be able to understand what kind of investments in which industry, what kind of companies, how much investment contributing to capital formation is happening. Based on that, you can make the changes in terms of the policies. PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey, was conducted once every quarter earlier. And before PLFS, there was one more survey, Employment Unemployment Survey, which was conducted once every 5 years. We changed the policy to once every quarter. Even that was not satisfactory to us because there are countries around the world, such as the United States, which publish employment data every month. And that is the precise reason the government of India now conducts the PLFS and publishes the data for every month. So I hope you understand the government is making huge changes, important changes in terms of how data is collected, how frequently the data is collected, what is the utilization of this data in terms of policy making. And that is what is expected from you when you write an answer to this kind of a question. Okay, let me go to the second article. Small finance banks may de-risk diversify loan book. What is the importance of this article? Listen to me carefully now. Reserve Bank of India has a tool called as priority sector lending. The PSL is essentially a type of a monetary policy tool. I'll repeat the expansion, priority sector lending. It is a type of a monetary policy tool, that is a credit control measure. Now, under the PSL, the Reserve Bank of India mandates that the banks operating in India, 40% of the credit, I'm using the term credit, technically it is called as ANBC, adjusted net bank credit. 40% of the loans which are issued, credit which is issued in a particular year, has to be issued to specific sectors, to specific areas. You have 8 areas such as agriculture, export credit, education, housing, weaker sections of the society, etc. So totally 8 areas are covered, and the total, the PSL criteria or the target that has been given to the banks operating in India, whether it is a foreign bank or an Indian bank, doesn't matter, it is 40%. But within these particular banks, there are certain banks such as Small Finance Bank, SFB, Small Finance Bank. There are urban cooperative banks, UCB, urban cooperative banks. And there are, right, other types of banks as well, such as, right, let's say regional rural banks, RRBs. The Reserve Bank of India identified these specifically, and until very recently, the priority sector lending target for these was a 75%. The PSL target for them was 75%. Now, Reserve Bank of India has reduced for RRBs, UCBs, and the latest one, the small finance banks, the target from 75% to 60%. Remember this. For all of them, right, changes have been done in recent times. From 75%, now the target is 60%. Now, the announcement regarding SFBs was done very recently, and that is what is discussed in the article here. Let me elaborate what is the information, important points you need to understand. Until recently, the SFBs were supposed to meet a priority sector lending criteria of 75%. And this 75% essentially was broken down into two components. 40%, as it is applicable to other banks, is the application to even these banks. In addition to 40%, there would be another 35% PSL loans. And this 35% used to be provided in certain sectors or in specific areas where the banks have expertise. I'll repeat the statement here. As usual, 40%, but in addition to 40%, 35% in certain areas where the banks, that is the SFBs, have expertise. Now, RBI simply says the 40% will continue as it is. This 35% will be reduced to 20%. This will be reduced to 20%. Overall, now the small finance banks will have to maintain a PSL criteria of 60%. Now, what is the impact of it? What is the impact of it? One, Now the small finance banks, instead of giving 75% of the loans under PSL, will be allocating only 60% of the loans, which also means the banks will have additional funds. Additional means because of the reduction in the PSL. That is more important. Because of the reduction in the PSL, now for other lending purposes, other loans, the banks will have additional funds. How much? Various estimates have pegged it at around 40,000 crore rupees. Additional funds that are available for the small finance banks because of this will be 40,000 crore rupees. And when I say additional, I want to be very clear here. It's not extra loan money that is available, extra money that is available for the SFBs. No, because under the PSL it is reduced. This 40,000 will be available for the SFBs to lend for other purposes which are not covered under the PSL. That is a very important outcome. As of now, there are 11 SFBs, small finance banks, which are operating in India. Out of 11 SFBs, 3 have already applied for conversion into universal banks, which I've discussed last week. 3 SFBs have applied for conversion into universal bank. A license should be issued or may not be issued by Reserve Bank of India. But so outcome of this policy will be one, additional funds are available for SFBs to lend for other purposes such as housing loans or personal loans, vehicle loans, etc., which are not covered under the PSL. Second outcome will be many of these NBFCs now might be interested to apply for the small finance bank license from Reserve Bank of India. Right? So that would be one more very important outcome because of this particular policy. And the third very important outcome will be the trading in priority sector lending certificates. The PSL certificates. What is the basic idea of a PSL certificate? Imagine there is one bank which is supposed to issue 40 crore rupees in the form of, right, let's say PSL loans. But it has not been able to meet the target of 40 crore. It has only hit, let's say, 38 crore. So remaining 2 crore worth of PSL loans, they don't have to issue. They can simply purchase the PSL certificates from another bank. And this PSL certificate essentially will give the bank an advantage in terms of claiming that they have given actual loans of 38 crore and they have purchased a 2 crore worth of PSL certificate. Right? That will help the bank to achieve the target of 40 crore. But what is the advantage for the second bank which is selling a PSL certificate? And mind you, in this case, PSL certificate simply represents the value of a loan under PSL. It is not exactly a loan which is getting transferred. Imagine I am a bank, you are another bank, you want to get 2 crore. I will issue a certificate worth 2 crore rupees to you. I will not transfer the loans to you. I'll simply give you certificates. You will pay certain premium or the charges to me. That is an advantage to the issuing bank of PSL certificate. So PSL certificates trading will also start improving because of or will be affected because of this particular change announced by Reserve Bank of India. So these are certain very important points associated with the PSL, SFBs, PSL certificates. Please make a note of this. Associated with this, an MCQ. Who want to solve it? Pause the video, solve the question. Those who do not want to solve it on your own, listen to the solution now. Consider the following statements regarding PSL certificates. Can be issued only by the scheduled public sector banks. Absolutely incorrect. No. Can be issued by any bank, public sector, private sector, RRB, doesn't matter. Can be issued by anyone. The sale of PSLCs will also lead to a transfer of credit risk. What do you mean by transfer of credit risk? Imagine I'm a bank which is issuing or selling the PSL certificate to you. Do I transfer the loan of 2 crore rupees to you? No. I will simply give you a certificate which is having a denomination of 2 crore, which you will count it as a part of your the PSL data. That's it. Credit risk simply means I am transferring the loan to you as well. That doesn't happen. Right? So second statement is also incorrect. The PSL certificates have a tenure which is coterminous with the tenure of the loan. Absolutely no. The PSL certificates, when they are issued by a particular bank, will be valid only for that specific financial year. Remember this. That will be specific to that particular financial year. After the financial year is over, PSL certificates also lapse. That is, the end date is done. So, first, second, third, all of them are incorrect. Right option for the question will be none of the above statements. Let me go to the next article now. The Finance Ministry is considering allowing special economic zone units to sell domestically on duty foregone basis. Now, regarding the special economic zones, recently multiple reforms have been announced. Listen to me carefully. What is the concept of a special economic zone? It is a region which has been notified by the government. Under the Ministry of Commerce, the SEZ policy is implemented, wherein whatever units you are setting up will enjoy certain benefits. They will enjoy certain benefits. But at the same point of time, there are certain obligations, there are certain conditions on these SEZ units. What kind of benefits? If you import a raw material and you're producing a good in the SEZ, you do not have to pay any customs duty. You do not have to pay any customs duty. Lot of laws which are applicable to the companies outside SEZ, these laws are relaxed if you're present within the SEZ. At the same point of time, there is an obligation as well. What is the obligation? Whatever units you are producing, it is for export purposes. It is for export purposes, not to sell in the domestic market, but to export. But what if you want to sell it in the domestic market? Now, if you want to sell it in the domestic market, which is technically referred to as domestic tariff area, remember this. When you are selling outside the SEZ region within the Indian market, that region is called as domestic tariff area, DTA. In such cases, whatever is the import duty applicable on the product, I repeat, whatever is the import duty applicable on the product, you'll have to pay that import duty. For example, imagine this marker. It is manufactured in the SEZ for export purposes. But if I want to sell it in the domestic tariff area, and if this marker will attract 20% customs duties if I'm importing it, then if I sell it in the DTA, I will have to pay a tariff of 20%. I'll have to pay customs duties of 20%. Right? That is essentially the policy of special economic zone. Like I said, these have been promoted by the government of India. Through a policy, these have been promoted in order to produce as well as export to the global market, make exports more competitive, etc. But in recent times, the special economic zones have been under a lot of pressure. For example, the SEZ exports have been affected because of pandemic. Many of the SEZ units are not viable in terms of finances. A lot of land that has been acquired has not been used for the development of SEZs, etc. In order to improve the viability of the SEZs, now Government of India has proposed something yet to be implemented, but the proposal is there. There is a concept of duty foregone basis. Duty foregone basis. What is the meaning of a duty foregone basis? Let me explain this. Imagine I will import a raw material to manufacture this in the special economic zone. And when I import the raw material, I am supposed to pay import duties of, let's say, 3 rupees. But because I'm importing the raw material to manufacture within SEZ, government will simply not collect the 3 rupee import duty from me. Now I will manufacture it. I want to sell this, right, either in the domestic tariff area or I want to export. If I export, nothing wrong. Government simply says, okay, right? That is the main objective. You're exporting, leave it. But what if I want to sell the product that is this good in the domestic tariff area? The government of India might be imposing import duties on the marker of, let's say, 5 rupees. Right now, currently, what is the policy? If I want to sell this marker in the domestic tariff area, I will have to pay import duties of 5 rupees to the government of India. But according to the new policy, the new proposal, the government simply says, I may change this from 5 rupees, that is essentially the duties that the imports of this marker will attract. I might simply ask you to pay only 3 rupees. That is the import duty that have sacrificed or foregone earlier. When you imported raw material, the government did not impose a customs duties of 3 rupees, which is imposed on a raw material. That is the duty foregone by the government of India. Now the government simply says, rather than asking you to pay 5 rupees, which is applicable on the marker, that is the final good which you want to sell in the domestic tariff area, I will not collect 5. Rather, I will ask you to pay whatever duty you have not paid earlier when you imported raw material. This policy is being considered by the government of India in order to reduce the burden of taxation on the SEZs, in order to ensure the product competitiveness will further improve and they will be able to conduct their business, sell it in the domestic market as well. Right, so this is a one very important policy that is being considered by the government in terms of promotion of special economic zone. Now, an MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding the special economic zones. For setting up of SEZs, there is a single window system for approvals. Absolutely correct. Please remember. There is a system called as a Board of Approval, BOA. The Board of Approval comprises of representatives from the different ministries, different departments. And it is this Board of Approval which will give you all the approvals for you to set up the SEZs or SEZ units in India. Right, so Board of Approval, yes, the first statement is correct. The Board of Approval is headed by Ministry of Finance Secretary. No, Ministry of Commerce. The SEZs are legally recognized. What do you mean by legally recognized? There is a law in India, SEZ Act. And under this particular SEZ Act, because it is a law, it is an act, right, basically a statutory recognition that has been provided. Statement 3 is absolutely correct. First one is correct. Third one is correct. Right option for the question will be option B. Only two of the statements are correct. Next article, just an update. Already mentioned. The representative, or let's say the Minister of State for the MOSPI, very recently has given a statement. In an interview, stated we are going to change the base year for the index of industrial production, for CPI, for GDP calculation. Right now, listen to me carefully. The base year for these is a 2011 and 12. The base year for this is a 2012, calendar year 2012. According to the statements given by the Minister of State, the base year for this will be shifted to 23 and 24, and the base year for CPI will be shifted to 2024. The most recent years will be used as base year. And not just this, the interview also provided certain information regarding CPI. That is, the government of India now says, I want to restructure or revamp the basket of commodities under CPI. What do you mean by restructuring or revamping here? When you look at the inflation indicator such as a consumer price index, how do I calculate the inflation? And inflation here is simply what? Changes in the price level for basket of commodities. For the CPI, overall I'm talking about, for the CPI, 299 commodities are there in the basket. Now, over a period of time, some of these particular commodities, and again, this basket was prepared when? Was prepared back in the year 2015. Prepared in the sense approved by the government for implementation from 2015. So, essentially, you have seen that this basket, which comprises of 299 commodities, some of the commodities will have to be replaced. Some of the commodities which are consumed by the households now will have to be included. The basket has to be expanded, etc. So the government has also given a clarification that CPI basket would also be expanded in the coming days. So these are certain very important points, updates regarding inflation measurement. Now, straightforward MCQ associated with the indicators here. Which of the following indices has the base year of 2011 and 12? And this is a very easy question, straightforward question. Consumer Price Index, it has a base year of 2012 calendar year. Incorrect. Wholesale Price Index, yes, 2011 and 12. Index of Industrial Production, yes, 2011 and 12. So second and third are correct. The second option, that is only two of the indices have a same base year of 2011 and 12, is the right option. Let me go to the next article. China's solar grip tightens, sell imports surge, modules barely drop despite curbs. What is the importance of this article? Listen to me carefully. The government of India initially had a target of achieving 100 gigawatts of renewable energy by the end of 2022. This particular target now has been expanded. By 2030, we want to achieve 500 gigawatts of renewable energy production in India. Out of this target, a large chunk is in the form of solar energy. And in order to promote the production of solar energy, the government of India has already implemented multiple reforms. But there is one area of concern. What is the area of concern? You want to harness the sunlight. You want to acquire or basically use the sunlight, convert that into electricity. For that, you need solar modules. Solar modules. I'm simply writing solar modules. It will also be referred as solar photovoltaic modules. To manufacture solar modules, you require solar cells. Require solar cells. And to manufacture solar cells, you require wafers. And to manufacture the wafers, you require ingots. To manufacture ingots, you require polysilicon. And right, to have polysilicon, you require silicon in the first place. In simple terms, this is a supply chain. Please remember this. The silicon that you get or you right basically extract from quartz or the sand will be used to produce a polysilicon, and from polysilicon you will have ingots. From the ingots you will manufacture wafers. From the wafers you will manufacture or you produce a cells, and multiple cells will be clubbed together to manufacture solar modules. Now in the context of India, the demand for the solar modules is very high. The demand for solar module is very high. For example, the government of India itself has implemented initiative where they want to cover 1 crore households install solar modules to harness the sunlight. In addition to this, the private sector companies are setting up renewable energy the projects, that is solar energy projects in multiple states now. The argument is the demand for the solar modules is very high. What is the production in India? Remember this, the production falls short of the demand. Simple. There is a production, and according to the latest data, we are able to produce, right? We are able to produce, right, around 91 gigawatts worth of capacity of solar modules. And what about the cell production? We are able to produce around 25 gigawatts of the cell capacity production in India. So demand for the solar modules much higher, demand for the cells much higher, and that is the precise reason we end up importing these from rest of the world, and most of it essentially is imported from China. A lot of it is imported from China. Now, how can I connect all of this to the current affairs here? What is given in the article? What is the connection? Connection is very simple. The government of India has implemented a policy called as ALMM. Right? They have implemented a policy called as ALMM, approved list of model and manufacturers. I'll repeat the expansion, approved list of models and manufacturers. What is the use of ALMM? Imagine the government is implementing a particular policy. Let's say installing solar models on the rooftops. The government of India will have a list of certain models and manufacturers only from whom, if you are somebody who is installing these solar models or the projects, you will have to procure the solar models. Is my point clear? I'll repeat it again. Under the ALMM policy, right now, which is applicable to solar modules, if you are someone who is going to implement the projects on behalf of the government of India, in such cases, only from this particular list, the companies or the sellers who are listed here, only from them you will have to purchase the solar modules. If you purchase from somebody else who is not there in the list, government will not be giving you the subsidy or the amount that the government owes. The whole objective of this policy is, with this policy, the sourcing of the solar modules from the domestic market will be much higher. And no doubt, to a certain extent, the policy has been effective. That's a reason in the recent times there is a huge capacity addition in terms of solar module manufacturing in India. Solar cell manufacturing in India has picked up precisely because of these kind of policies. At the same point of time, the concern still is existing. What is the concern? The module imports from China, it has come down to a very great extent, hardly around 2% now. But the cell imports, the solar cell imports have ballooned in the last 1 year by 141%. Have a look at this. Those solar cell imports have ballooned. They have increased by more than 140% in the last 1 year. Module imports has gone down, but the cell imports has actually ballooned. And what is the logic behind this? The government officials simply say, because we have restricted through the policy of ALMM importing the solar modules, right now what manufacturers are doing is, in order to manufacture the modules, you will require solar cells. They are importing solar cells from China. And that's the reason there is a sudden rise or a huge rise in terms of imports of solar cells from China. So, what is the solution to this? The government of India has already announced, come June 2026, I will have a list of ALMM, approved list of modules and manufacturers, which will cover even the solar cells. Which means now you want to be covered under the government schemes, you'll have to procure the solar cells which will use to manufacture the modules from certain manufacturers which are listed, notified under the list by the government of. This is expected to promote production of solar cells in the domestic market. And in addition to this, there is one more concern which has been raised in the article, and the concern is essentially regarding whether Chinese are dumping these solar cells in India. Are they dumping these solar cells? What do you mean by dumping here? Dumping essentially means the exporter from China will be sending these exports or will be exporting these cells at lesser prices, at suppressed prices, in order to ensure the demand for these will be there in the Indian market. That is, their exports will be cheaper in Indian market. That is called as a dumping activity. In fact, the government under DGTR, Directorate General for Trade Remedies, is also conducting an investigation whether Chinese companies are dumping these particular products, that is the solar cells, in the Indian market. And the reason behind that is very simple. If you look at what is the import surge, 141% import surge of solar cells. But on the other hand, what is the surge? What is the increase in terms of value of the solar cells? If the import volumes have increased by 141%, you also expect the value of the imports to have surged by huge number. The value of the solar cell imported has increased hardly by around 30%. That is the reason there is a concern that they might be suppressing the prices in order to ensure they are cheaper in Indian market and they are dumping. And that's the reason I said there is an investigation which is being conducted against the dumping activity. So these are the important things associated with this and MCQ. India does not have production capacity for solar cells, hence imports it to manufacture PV modules. Statement is incorrect. I've already told you, we have production capacity of solar cells. How much? According to the latest data, 25 gigawatts. We have production capacity of solar. In fact, last year, the Adani group of enterprises started manufacturing even wafers and ingots, which are used in the manufacturing of solar modules. Solar photovoltaic modules is covered under the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, PLI scheme. Is it covered? Absolutely correct. Out of 14 sectors which are covered, this is one of them. The import of solar cells and modules attract a duty of 25%. Incorrect. Why? If you import solar cells, import duty is 25%. If you import solar modules, duty is 40%. So third statement, first statement incorrect. Right option will be option A. Only one of them is correct. The last article for today, just a factual information here. In recent times, there have been certain concerns raised regarding digital frauds in India, the banking frauds in India. So, in order to address this particular issue, now Reserve Bank of India stated that there will be a joint venture. Joint venture means where different entities are brought together. The public sector banks and the private sector banks have been brought together, and under Reserve Bank of India's supervision, under RBI supervision, now there will be an intelligence platform which will be developed. And the name of the intelligence platform is DPIP. What is the expansion? Digital Payment Intelligence Platform. I'll repeat it. Digital Payment Intelligence Platform. DPIP will be developed, and the role of the DPIP will be real time basis. It will be using multiple data sets. It will have certain technology usage, and it will be identifying and flagging fraudulent transactions on real time basis. It will be helpful in basically addressing the issue of the digital frauds which are taking place repeatedly in India. So, this is just an update. Please make a note of this. Done. So, these are the different articles and the concepts, MCQs I wanted to discuss with you people for this week. Now, assignment. The first assignment. This is a editorial from the Mint newspaper. The government has taken the route of subsidies and incentives to promote EV, electric vehicles. However, for the transition to be sustainable, there is a need for innovative solutions. A 15 marker, 250 word question. Read the article. You'll be easily able to write the answer, very effective answer by. Second article and second assignment. If you have seen the last 10 years question papers of UPSC GS paper 3 mains, a lot of times you will see one question associated with food processing industry. Very recently, Mr. Chirag Paswan, who is the Minister of Food Processing Industries, has given or has written a very nice article in Indian Express. And in this article, lot of information regarding the reforms of government of India to promote the food processing have been detailed, have been given. What is the success of the reforms has been provided for. So read the article and then try to write the answer to this question. Discuss the importance of food processing industry and the success of reforms undertaken by the government in the recent years. 15 marker question, 250. So these are the two assignments and the other articles that I wanted to cover from different newspapers for this particular duration from the 19th June to 25th June 2025. If you have benefited from this particular discussion, do not forget to hit the like button. If you've got any doubts or concerns regarding whatever I've discussed, drop in the form of a comment in the video section below. And if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.